ESL presents ESL Challenger League in partnership with Intel, Acer Predator, DHL,
What is up? Welcome back to the ESL Challenger League Season 51. We are well into playoffs week here of Cup number 2. Looking forward to cracking our teeth into another game. It's going to be myself, Scrib, and Neokai. For this one, we've got Nemiga up against Ursa, as you can see, the lower bracket final. So once again, getting very, very serious, following on with the team that we caught yesterday. And still elimination time for Nemiga. They've been on a pretty hefty run back. This will be their 4th game in a row in this lower bracket, and they are facing off against Ursa, who lost to 1 win just yesterday.
Yeah, exactly that. I'm looking forward to seeing this game. You know, for Nemiga, we saw some high highs, but also some low lows in that game. And Ursa's a side that I've got the chance to cast a few times recently, and I gotta say, I've liked what I've seen. This is a team that have been playing some decent Counter-Strike, and they're doing all of this with their coach still as well. They've got Jo, their coach, has been playing as part of the lineup for the last kind of couple of months, and they're still playing good Counter-Strike. So I'm a fan of what they've had to offer up. But of course, here is what they are playing for. You see that prize pool, 12,000 for first place, 25,000 in total. However, that's not really the main reason as to why these teams are grinding through this quite grueling bracket. They're playing to get their chance with a win in this qualifier to get to the Season 51 EU Finals. A win there books yourself a spot to Pro League.
Yeah, absolutely right. There is an awful lot on the line. The prize money is one thing, obviously very valuable in a lot of different ways in the current landscape of Counter-Strike, and a pretty big jump, the $7,000 all the way up, I think is, yeah, really quite a big deal. This, of course, the bracket, it is massive. That's what these cups have created. We've got so many teams. I saw the announcement for Cup number 3 and the teams that are going to be taking part there. And the list on Twitter is just so long. I think it takes up like 2 or 3 tweets or whatever. And then we have also, what is it? Nigel Mirage playing, which is just absolutely brilliant.
I did see that,
just to point that one out real quick. But yes, this, of course, the other side of the bracket. K27 up against 1 win will be going on at the same time as us. And indeed, a pretty big game over there, of course. The lower bracket, there's sort of one little bit more move, as you do have the extra game to be playing here that, you know, can really decide everything. So a lot more work to be done. And as mentioned, Nemiga, they have been really grinding it out down here, facing off, and indeed putting to bed a number of very, very strong teams. Yeah,
and for Nemiga as well, for them, it really feels like they are trying to get back to where they once were, right? This is a side that over the last kind of year and a half, actually a lot of talent that have come through the gates for them, right? You look at people that have kind of left as of somewhat recently, Zwei and Xanta, 2 of them as well. Risky Bob, who was also sort of part of this team for kind of a brief period. But even kind of prior to that, you know, we've had plenty of players. Belchinok was part of this team at one point, right? Flammus as well, before he made his move into kind of some of the big leagues. They've been able to really incorporate a lot of talent throughout this roster. They're trying to get back to that point, and it's not an easy thing. You know, their peak was pretty far inside of the top 30. I think they were just outside of the top 20, this Nemiga side, as they were playing a lot of these sort of tier 1 lands and looking like a really stable side, and they wanted to get back there. This is the team they've got for today, though. Leah, Khan, Swelio, Chiron, and Cypher.
Yeah, big squad for sure. Some very recognizable names and some great individuals within them at this point. There's been a lot of moving around. I mean, you mentioned all these players like roster-wise that have been in and out, and that they've lost recently, some big names, of course, but it's worth pointing out and going to be fun to point out that Jo on the other side of things is kind of an Nemiga OG from back in the day, you know, miles back in the day. I think first getting on the team in 2018. So, yeah, kind of crazy. He's not played for them for quite a while. And obviously they've pivoted a lot of different players. But it just goes to show that Nemiga have been around for a long time. And they're a pretty serious team, I think, within the Tier 2 space in terms of churning players and, you know, staying afloat, getting those buyouts and things. They've done a very good job of that, where some other orgs have, you know, just completely disappeared in that same sort of time period. Their stats and their recent matches as well. We caught the game against Nemesis yesterday, where they looked pretty good. I think still a little stressful for them. And indeed, with the way that it started in that series, they took their opponent's map pick, and we just thought, okay, should be pretty much over. And unfortunately, they allowed like this comeback and everything to happen to them on the second map, and just didn't really deliver in that way. So there's a little bit in there for Nemiga that they're maybe not quite perfect, but that's to be expected. We're in the lower bracket.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. You know, it's not being that kind of flawless run, but there is still nice things for this side in terms of kind of their prospects and how we move towards their opponents, Ursa. And like I said, this is a side that I've really liked the look of recently. I think for me, they've looked quite interesting. And they've got a decent amount of talent themselves. You look at this team, Axel, Salazar, Carnes, and Jo. Really interesting. You mentioned Jo, so he is the coach of this side, but they've recently gone through changes. They dropped 2 players, picked one up in that of Carnes, but they did drop Dean and Torox not too long ago, and they've not found the full fifth for this side. So Jo's been standing in, and he's actually looked pretty decent in the couple of games that I've caught of him when he's been standing in. He's been able to, you know, still keep up some pretty solid numbers despite maybe his veterancy, let's put it. So, yeah, definitely can't sleep on this side. But in particular, they are really led by Alv and the new guy of Carnes. They both look very, very sharp.
Yeah, for sure. Very interesting team, I think, as well as it goes. There's, for me, kind of a question of, like, who are these guys, maybe you might be asking, you know, like people like me and Neo are going to know and able to track them and whatnot. But if you are maybe just kind of in the tier 2 and watching ECL here, I do feel like they're a team that, yes, are making a few waves, but again, as happens in that CIS region, they've sort of come out of nowhere, it feels like, a lot of these players. You look across the teams that they played for previously, there's not really an awful lot there that's going to be recognizable. So it could be a bit curious, and that might be one of the ways that they're creeping in and pulling off a few of these results, is just by the fact that they're one of those lesser respected teams within the scene. So curious to see how far that goes and whether it will end, as it were, coming up against a team like Nemiga. We got the head-to-head, though. Absolute beasts here as you look at these numbers, right? And this is one of the big things that we're going to be looking at today. Can they both continue to deliver game on game? It was Khan for me yesterday as well that looked really good.
Agreed.
He seemed to want that game against Nemesis, where perhaps he's been looking slightly shakier in recent months. But ultimately, yeah, these two boys are just absolutely mental.
Yeah, super, super sharp, the both of them. I thought as well, you know, when you look at Cypher, it's just kind of the amount of impact he has, and recently his form for this Nemiga side has been pretty unreal. And the last couple of games that I've caught of Ursa, Alv is absolutely flying. Like, he is so unbelievably good. And he's still kind of got it, right? They obviously had this kind of stint where he was in the 9 Pandas. He was part of that side that kind of qualified to the Major, but then never actually got to play, which was obviously quite unfortunate for them because of visa issues and all the rest. And now is the time for him to really kind of shine and show what he's all about. And I'm looking forward to this game. Really damn important, as we kind of mentioned. Being that lower bracket final. Win here, moving forward, kind of puts you into, well, I guess, that contention, that chance of taking on, and staying alive, I guess you could put it. But seeing who ends up losing that game that is also going on simultaneously, which is K27 and 1 win, which originally we were thinking about doing. We weren't now as we make the change, but that game is apparently going live. There's a veto on the way for that one too. But let's talk about our veto. We've got a few maps that are very, very strong for their respective maps. For Ursa, every time I've caught them, they basically just go towards Dust 2. No matter who they're against, they always pick for themselves. Dust 2 kind of feels like their map. For Nemiga, they've got a few maps in the pool that are good for them. You got Anubis, you got Ancient, which of course just been banned. Nuke's not bad either, and you got the Overpass, which is it's a decent win rate, but not as many reps. But Ursa don't love that map, and that is where they are going to go. I expect the Dust 2 to come through here for Ursa. They literally pick it in nearly every series they play, so that makes complete sense. And then judging by the leftover maps, with Ancient being banned out because it's Ursa's perma, you've got the choice between Anubis and Nuke here. And I think both sides... Well, to be fair, I feel like you probably go Anubis.
Yeah, you can definitely move towards either of them, but maybe indeed get the Anubis out as a test.
Nuke more reps, I guess, is probably like the big argument. Yeah, there we go.
And I suppose just the fact that if it had been Nemiga deciding, I think they go Anubis. Well, I don't know, though, because it still feels like kind of a punish. So, yeah, they also could have gone either way in the end. But Ursa definitely want to take a few more reps. But I don't know, once you start 25 and a 36% win rate, I feel like that's pretty weak, to be honest. Their Nuke maybe feels like a true decider in the sense that sometimes they win it, but without their own map pick, they may struggle in this series for sure. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And now with the veto being done, it's a waiting game for this one to get underway. I can see... to look server-wise, I saw them joining, and it actually seems like nearly everybody's in, which is generally a good sign. This Overpass, though, it's obviously a map in which, for Nemiga, it's a bit of a strength in their pool. They've obviously the highest win rate that they've got at the moment. For Ursa, it's not been the greatest. You know, even yesterday, for example, lost to TDK in this map 13-5. That's not a good look. Against one win as well in towards Challenger League. Also lost in OT. They did take down Big Academy, which is not bad, but it is Big Academy, you know, and frankly, that doesn't kind of mean all too much. These two sides have played once so far within the last kind of few months. That's right at the tail end of the year, and that was on a local LAN, and they played Train, and it was a double OT win for Ursa. So that's been such a long time ago where the rosters have changed, first and foremost, but also the map pool's changed. So that shouldn't really be something we read too much into. And on paper, it's hard not to call Nemiga kind of the favourites in this game as well. But I will kind of continue to throw out that I've just liked what I've seen from Ursa. I think they've played some decent CS, but I still think you have to value Nemiga as the favourites here. Yeah, no, I think for sure. Nemiga ultimately just, for me, have a more complete game. And I think that's something that they'll be able to kind of lean on. Again, Ursa feel like a team that are kind of creeping in, and they've got a lot of sharpshooters and can kind of catch a team on a disrespectful day, you know, or maybe just one of their colder days, something like this. And also you have to look at the run of opponents, really. There's a couple of teams in here where it's like when they meet them, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, you kind of expect them to lose there. But as you said, they've had some pretty one-sided ones. Maybe they're going to be able to tap into that. And again, Nemiga have to be careful on that confidence level and keeping themselves in check. And it's something that we saw against the likes of Nemesis, which is a team that you'd really expect them to be aware of and careful of and whatnot, where there were some overfaces, some overswings that cost them rounds, that cost them maps. So, yeah, I think could be a pretty scary one here if they, unfortunately, you know, take their eye off the ball. And True. Again, that could happen. I can see Nemiga, the run of players over there. You know, I don't want to say anything like definite, but there's certainly a couple names, if you're aware, that are maybe slightly more vocal and overconfident and things like this than perhaps they should be in a matchup like this. So hopefully they can lock in this evening. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think for Nemiga, they obviously let a couple of things really slip through in that previous game, but the main thing was winning out in the end. They just made life so difficult for themselves. Let's get the shot on the road. CT side star coming through for Ursa. Their opponent's map pick. We do have a little worry about this Overpass. It's worth mentioning. So, you know, we kind of brought up the stats a little bit. They don't look too pretty. All signs point to this one being, for the most part, pretty comfortable here, mate. So, we'll see if that's the case. Yeah, we're going to have to find out if it continues, or if they have done some learning. Chiron, P250 raid boss move will find the first. Can he get any more here? The answer is yes. They've given the P250 to the right man. Alvi's on a flank over there. Meanwhile, the bomb itself is actually headed B. So this has all worked out pretty perfectly. Oh, that's tough, but they even up the numbers and they discover there's no one else around. So we'll see. 3 versus 3 on the retake and not super far away. Cypher's going to tuck himself in towards Graffiti. This is a smart play from him. Doesn't need to peek, but might get cleared. And Will Doom is going to get a kill.
And again, that just draws attention away. It's about buying a bit of time here because there isn't a kit in play. Can't. One more for him as he gets both on that tail end. And Nemiga start well, a pop in towards that B site. Net a successful round. And now the big question is, how much can this T side really get going? You know, we speak about this a lot. This is statistically the most CT-sided map in the pool. So if you can get this T side really rocking and rolling, especially early and towards the game as well, it can become really quite problematic. Should be a pretty easy second as well, to be honest. There's no real bite to work with, so nothing really to worry about.
I think we'll be pretty happy. Couple, well, just the one actually upgraded pistol, so really nothing to write home about. However, Karnez is in the right spot. He will lose his head, so denied of any excitement. No one really around him to trade or pick up that deagle. So it feels like things are kind of over before they even start in this one. That is what you would expect in a round like this, to be fair. So just going through the motions, taking it easy. And it does become a mission of keeping all the rifles up, right? Not losing any of those.
Yeah. Just make sure a round like this isn't expensive. That's basically all you care about. And it should be. Going to move back up towards that top site, and as we can see with the benefit of the minimap and X-ray, no one's there. In comes the Utah. All the due diligence at every corner is being checked, but there's no one home. One will go down in just a second. After Sualio goes for his team's molly. With that being said as well, it also looks like we don't want to be giving this one a look in for Ursa. You know, sometimes teams will go and just try and see if they can make it a little bit expensive, you know, at the tail end, get a couple of kills or whatnot, but I just think they just don't want to feed the half-buy.
Yeah, no, that is true. It does feel slightly tedious, slightly boring, you might say, but it is how things have got to go here. Just hold on to as many guns as possible. Chiron ready for them here. Looking good. Holy. He's helped out by Sypho, but really, really solid from him. Movement-wise and making sure not to get hit. Spray down looks clean. Correction across it. It's just gorgeous, really. Now you're always going to play in an eco against USPs for sure. But nonetheless, good signs that Nemiga are nice and warm and maybe a bit more in the right headspace today.
Yeah, they look comfy. Look really comfy at the moment. So ultimately, a lot of positive signs being shown here for a side who, like we said, we sort of have quite big expectations for them. We do favour them in this map specifically, but also this entire series. The door was heard open there, and spam behind it won't net all too much. So he's desperately trying to find something behind, but being offered up.
Jump spot in. Karnez in between the angles. Sees the utility coming over. Does have to be careful. Gap could close a bit faster than he would expect, and confident on the peaks here. I mean, looking clean around these corners, but can he land the headshots to boot? His teammate is in a very awkward spot as well to assist. They'll do their best. Alves come through with the AWP, and there's a big old gap on top of that smoke. He misses the shot. I think they really had no idea about him over there. 4x looking solid. Optimus into the 1 versus 2 for Khan. He doesn't know where the second player is. Has he maybe located both of them now? Something seemed to change in his attitude. The answer, I think, is no. He was not expecting that close peek at all. And Ursa, with their individuals, with their sharp shooting, get the first on the board.
That's a huge one to be getting as well, right? You know, first gone round, first real attempt at essentially kind of putting a bit of pressure on towards Nemiga and First look in, you find success, and it's going to give you a bit of runway, and it is going to put that pressure on towards Nemiga, because you can even see with the buy that they have to bring to the table, it's not pretty, right? You know, we've got a couple of Galils being brought to the table because they want to bolster up the utility, but it's a good sign.
Carnes. Oh, defeated. Big find from Sualio. Really clean entry from him. Something he was pretty good at yesterday were the individual, the initiative ideas. Alv forced back by the molly here as well, so any chance at an aggressive response for Ursa has been nullified in these early moments. He's still going to stick around, though. He's not afraid, it would seem.
Cypher's hoping that somebody goes for a jump peek as well. Wants to clip ahead. He smoked down with under a minute on the clock is kind of a nice way to put real pressure on the C side, and a molly down on top of it too in towards shore. They've got a great read here, so they know what's happening.
Yeah, there's something certainly brewing for this. Salazar sat behind. I like his position. He's going to have some support as well. They're starting to move off slightly, though. You see, 4X wasn't really as confident, slowly moved away. They were thinking maybe the other bomb site, maybe more towards short, and they do get caught in all that miscommunication. 2-on-2, 17 HP remaining for the M4 that has done its best to try and keep them in this round. But will it be enough, Alv? The orb trained in, but the flash is so clean. And surely now enough has been done. The double swing from Nemiga to close it out. And that's what I was talking about, the extra level that they're going to have. They have loads of wonderful plays like that. Really, really solid response.
I really love the way it kind of like you can see it, like, yes, even though Ursa have, first and foremost, like the kind of perfect read on what the situation is looking like and a really solid understanding of like what's going to be happening here. Even despite that, they just can't compete in terms of the firepower because of how sharp those shots were. Attack pause taken though by Nemiga. Can make an argument that it's sort of unnecessary in a way, but I can understand it. For them, right, you're in a spot where, you know, that you are sort of being figured out, and yes, you've won off the back of your raw individuals, but you want cleaner ways to find success. So I can sort of understand where for them, they're like, okay, let's call a pause, let's see what the reactions look like, what have we understood so far, and from here, how can we now then set ourselves up heading forward. But 3 rounds already out, the first 4 played on the T side. Can't be too upset with that. That attack's turned technical, though. I hate to see it, but we've lost one.
Yeah, we have. Been a bit shaky since maybe the recent patch or something. Been having quite a lot of tech pauses in our games. I hope we're not going to be sat in this one for too long, but, you know, usually I say that and I'm pretty confident in it. Now, I'm not sure. The confidence waning a little bit as the past couple of weeks have gone on. Not going to lie. Yeah, it's strange. Now I've got a CT player dipping out.
They're dropping like flies.
Yeah, not good. Not good. And yesterday we had a complete server change coming in, didn't we?
Yeah.
Okay, maybe he's just being funny because he left and joined pretty quick there, if I do say so myself.
So sometimes it's just like you just leave for an FPS reason. I've had that. Like, I just refresh the server and it seems to fix it for me. However,
yeah,
where is this
what
last man? I was gonna say, where is he?
Oh,
Carnes is racking up deaths, by the way. by leaving.
He might just... Is he just like, I've been killing the console?
Can you even do that on these?
I don't know, but that wasn't a leave. He was literally back instantly. There's no way you can do it that fast. Okay, now he's disconnected. I don't know what to say.
Something is up here.
And now he's back. What's going on?
9 deaths.
Yeah. His stats are not going so well.
Impressive. 9 deaths and 4 rounds played. That is quite an achievement.
That is quite an achievement, yeah. Also, the 0 kills doesn't look good now. Someone's gonna like jump into this game out of context, screenshot that, and be like,
yeah,
this
like,
guy
whoa,
sucks.
Connor's, yeah, this new guy stinks, and I have no idea what's actually going on.
There you go. Even the match medic does restore his stats though, so he will be back to 4, which is still not great.
Yeah,
to be honest,
it's true.
You know, he's died every round. He's not got a kill. So maybe you keep it at the unexplained 0-9. It would have looked a little better. People would be like, maybe he's bugging, you know?
Well, finally, tech pauses are concluded and we can get the show back on the road. The Mac 10 for Swalio. Dropped there by Leo, who's going to use the AK, and that's the only lesser investment for Nemiga, but it should be a simple round. It's only pistols on the other side, so nothing really to worry about.
Straight stacking. Trying to get some action going towards long here. Chiron would be your man, and he's certainly the best player to be finding when you're trying to stack somewhere. He's a bit of a headless chicken at times. It does seem like they are going to circumvent the long position, try and get some control of middle here. See what happens in con and maybe join up towards B. That would be my thinking.
Salazar. Staying tucked, but they're once again going towards A. It is just interesting about this long move here. Khan potentially is in a lot of trouble. I speak too soon. Oh, double deeds, double body shot.
Chiron denies the AK save. Really big finds from him. I think that AK is still going to... hit the deck, and Swalio just reloading right in the face of his opponent down there. So yeah, they lose an AK. Kind of costly. Bomb not been planted just yet. Salazar actually could have been in a position to really disrupt them, but he thinks it's A. And the jig given up, so I don't know. I feel like you just throw yourself at this one, maybe try and make some money. But there is that... No, there is that AK. It depends what Chiron did with it. Might be out of the map. Might still be on the floor, so... Relatively costly in a way. Nemiga, though, moving up to their 4th round.
Yeah, I'm going to go have a look as well for Salazar. See what he can scoop up, if anything. He just about evades. Initially looking towards playground. It looks like... I'll say it will be okay. I don't think that was heard. Might still get spotted and dropped anyway. Aaron sees him off. 4th on the board for Nemiga. So, already 4 rounds T-side, especially that is out of the first 5 played. A fantastic start for Nemiga. It's still early enough in towards this map that it's not doom and gloom for Ursa, but these next couple of gun rounds have got to be pretty emphatic from them. They don't, and they allow Nemiga anywhere near 6 rounds of the half. They're already in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, agreed. Scary times on the cards here. Just needs reining in. And Sypho in particular desperately looking for an overstep of aggression. There's a boost on the way. Might lose their head if they don't have their eyes on it, but you can see the AWP not really wanting to fully give itself away. Lear with a quick trade. If only that AWP had been in step to help Jo out for a bit more. He opts to play it safe on the site. I'm going to tell if that's the key decision here or not. Salazar goes down, trying to get aggressive. Alv missing his shot. He is backed up. This is another. He's just so panicked here. Will go down. The M4s are in the conversation. However, and they've been finding kills. This is just a complete mess. And 4X, he loses control and location of those final players. But Alv with some missed shots, if I have to say so.
Yeah, an absolute mare of a round there, though, genuinely. So many times where it felt like it could have been flipped back on top of its head, but Nemiga get a bit of a bailout, and another round which it sort of feels like might even be the way in which Nemiga approach a lot of this series, just winning it by brute force. Again, they know they can just barrel in towards that B site and put that kind of defense in a position where, as we saw, they kind of fumble the lines a little bit. Molly and an aid, Swalio does actually a fair significant amount of damage to himself. It's going to make him one-tappable to the pistols. But that is a 5th for Nemiga, and you assume with this level of buy that the 6th should be pretty easy. You know, should, of course, is the operative word. We've seen a couple of these fumbled even yesterday by Nemiga, but this one shouldn't be that big of an issue.
Pretty far back for the CT side. Can they get anything done with this? Is the key question. Nemiga taking their time, gaining some control, and again, just trying to sniff out what's going on. Is it that stack? Very, very common on the CT side of Overpass, on the low buys, to be stacking away. They're going to start the execute towards the A-bomb site. Still kind of loose, still not, you know, too over the top. They'll get more and more ground before getting a utility in. Nice little smoke to slow them down, though, and Ursa are just going to fully dedicate to this. Why not? 30 seconds remain here. Bits of damage done through the smokes. The first kill to come in, though, is the most valuable. Takes that FAMAS down. Karnes chimes in, but that is all Ursa are able to find.
Yeah, it was, for a brief moment there, very chaotic, but again, just making sure that those rounds are inexpensive is that real priority in a spot like this. So, where we're at the moment, 6-1, an incredibly worrying position.
Ooh, Sypho.
Yeah, they need to be ready for this. This body's here, though. Surely, right? They got 4 towards B to start the round. Surely.
Orp saw him. little ghost around the corner. I don't think you'll be seeing him again anytime soon. The nade strike. Really, really nicely found by Nemiga, actually. Doesn't get the kill, but obviously a lot of damage, but just great to see that they're able to instinctively pull that off. It's like, okay, we've seen where the AWP is, get those nades gone now. Really not a lot of time in between those two things, the piece of information and then the action behind it. Unconfirmed damage for them, unfortunately, but they have done a lot of it towards these B players.
Yeah. Okay. 35 seconds, it sort of eerily quiet. Questions now, what is the play? I mean, looks like they're going to go for a late move back towards A. They're not giving themselves a lot of time here, though. My God, this could be really, really janky. And they come. Flash over from Axis. He wants to fight behind it, and he'll do well. Swalio, first to drop. A second flash over, and a trade. 7 seconds. C4's got to go down, and just about with a second to spare, those numbers will be punched in.
Looking good. All that damage that they did earlier on is now going to come into fruition. Chiron is maybe an inch away from all that spam. Karnez tries to get out while players might be distracted. He was perhaps their only hope. Goes down without a fight. Nothing that can be done. 7-1 now. Ursa really being pushed into the dirt here, and honestly started kind of well. The fact that they were able to find that first rifle round. They get it quite early as well because they just put all their resources into making the first rifle happen. And it's crumbled pretty quickly after that fact. So, yeah, Nemiga worried, I think it is safe to say, about their prospects. But it should be a relatively one-sided affair if this continues.
Yeah, you're right. 7-1. It feels very much like, as crazy as to say, being kind of like midway through that first half, you know, we just know how seaside this map is. It's a horrible predicament that we're in at the moment. Oh my god, I'm going to say that I'll spot him. It looks like he did. Nade won't do too much. The one on towards Karnez will. Nade and a molly will force him forward into the fight in which he'll lose his life.
4x digging in. Flash comes around. I work against him though. Yeah, he just doesn't fully clear everything out. And Sualio thinks about peeking. Maybe couldn't peek because he was blinded up. He finds that kill. That is pretty unlucky for us. They're trying to do what they can and also find these instinctive moments and these quick fights. Lots of little micro plays from both sides, but Nemiga are just that much tighter.
I'm planted, and for Jo and Alf, don't have too much of a choice. Jo throws out a FAMAS to pick up the AK. Don't worry, mate. I don't think they're going to be too keen on that FAMAS. You don't have to worry about that one too much. Potentially, this hunt could still net some success there. They are starting to swarm a little bit. Oh, ow. He's in trouble. Has the support of Jo, who's not long for the world. The molly bounces off Sualio. They know where Alv is. They know he's in playground. Oh, and he misses an absolute sitter. Nice out. I can't believe it. Sualio gets him with the knife. They both miss their shot. Sualio runs out of ammo. And with that being said, it's an 8th in the most chaotic of fashions.
Unreal. Just looks ridiculous. The second time of asking as well. Crazy stuff. And just a further kick in the teeth for Ursa. Kind of a buy going on here. As Ursa will try and have a bit of presence. Triple nade, landing on one of the boosts, but not the correct one. We've got a double boost coming in on top of the sandbags. It's the right idea. I mean, look, I like it, but again, not even fully set, you know? Getting your crosshair ready by the time you're up there is just not going to work. And they deal with him swiftly.
Well, 5-7 up close can still be potentially fearsome. See if that's the case. 50 seconds. We know Nemiga like leaving these rounds a little long, but I was given an opportunity to a freebie, and he'll take it. Nice work.
Aaron, creeping forwards, does have some light support, but they're not necessarily together. And just has to be careful. He does get caught by Karnez. They've managed to find an AK over there, though.
Yeah.
That's sort of the kill you didn't want, is the big thing. Oh, this could get dangerous. They seem weary of a flank. No response on the A-bomb side itself. You can see Sypho is head on a swivel looking around. Bomb plant is going to come in here. Can Karnez activate is the big question. I don't think he's going to have the chance.
Yeah, I still think he's going to be given the opportunity more than anything. I mean that. 9 now. This is a damning first half. I was taking a look at Nemiga's stats as well. They actually are a side which is kind of a rarity to say, considering how many times they've played this map, right? You know, this is their 15th time played. They actually average more rounds on the T side, but obviously it's because they're picking into this map a lot, but still wild in itself, right? That they're averaging on such a CT-sided map more rounds on the T side, and well, this map is absolutely going to help those statistics. 57.89% is what they've got. Unfortunate time for a tech pause, though. Even if you are to get the final 3 rounds here, it's not going to make a difference to me. I just can't see anything changing.
No, yeah, I totally agree. I just feel, you know, Ursa, they're one of these teams. Maybe like X-Ruby is another one that fits into the same sort of bracket of like, there's some good individuals here, and from time to time, maybe more often than not at the moment. Oh, goodness.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Hopefully they're on the same connection or something. Might be a full server change, though. It's getting a little crazy out here. There's definitely something going sideways, because we've had a lot of tech issues. Like, shorter ones and solvable ones and stuff, but still, a lot creeping in across the course of a couple different tournaments.
Yes,
yeah. They've left and rejoined, like, really fast, so...
Something's up in it, right?
Yeah, this new updates.
Yeah.
You know, if you've got an AMD 9800 3XD or something, you know, you're going to lose 50 FPS randomly because of the new update. That's obviously what the pros will know. Typho's still not happy. But yeah, no, I was just going to say, like, Ursa are a team. They come through. They've got, like, decent individuals and, you know, some solid fundamentals, but I think just not got the separate kind of depth that we see a team like Nemiga that have those players that have had a taste of the high level and just able to really, really move quickly, like the protocols, it's like innate team play that they have. They don't even necessarily have to communicate very much about what they want to do, and maybe a team like Ursa is still building that a bit.
I think you're right. So also, you know, they're not only in their infancy stages, but they're also in like a bit of a weird predicament at the moment, just team-wise. Like, they don't actually have their like full-fledged 5 because they're playing with Jo as a coach, but like he's obviously doing all right, but the plan is for him to be out the server, not in. So the fact that he even made it this far is actually pretty commendable as a whole. Finally, we can say the tech is over. Concluded. We're back on the road with this one. So, already a fantastic showing at 9-1. 9 rounds T-side Overpass. By every metric, this is a game that should be all but done. It's only been double digits, and that, for my money, confirms it, basically. But it already does feel confirmed anyway.
Arnez. Oi, that's rough. That is rough. Not comfortable on this map, I think it's safe to say.
Yeah, for sure.
They've got the D2 coming up next, which is like their home map and what they love playing. Probably even at this level is a lot of fun for them, but still not one that Nemiga are pushovers on. They've had some good results on it within the past week or so.
And do you know what as well, kind of the way things have been panning out with this Overpass, there's like a real world that D2 is another one where sort of Nemiga can just brute force their way through it. Like at the moment, they're just so much crisper, and you can see they're so happy to fight. Like, if you want to give them opportunities to brawl, they're absolutely going to take it. Chiron. Nice work from him. Nice working player. Barrel spotted. Seen off by the orb. 2v4. No chance in hell here.
I'm going down. They do manage to find one. They're just so far away from this bomb plant. I think they kind of know it. It is a save written in the stars. Kind of sucks,
song.
but it's what you got to
Tempo.
do, really.
Little throwback there, written in the stars.
Ah, yes. Okay, sorry, I did. I thought you said Tiny Temper, and I was like,
I did, yeah. I said good song.
I hear that
Tiny,
right?
Tiny Temper.
yeah.
That's a real
Another
throwback.
one. Yeah, I gotta look up the lyrics.
Written in the stars, a million miles away. Banger. Banger.
It is a banger.
As on Nemiga on this map, it's a very weird game in a way as well to cast because it's so one-sided. Like, there really isn't a lot of kind of back and forth in many of these rounds. It's very kind of one-dimensional. Nemiga take a bit of space. They win out the head-to-heads, especially win out their opening duels. And then from that, they just compound with this sort of pack mentality that they're very good at doing. And their lurks have been super prevalent. 10-1 scoreline, final round of the half. And double digits already on this T side is a done affair here. No matter what Ursa throw in the second half, there's no way you can recover this. Alva's going to be boosted up, but a smoke down will all but nullify that orb. At least temporarily. Double open again as well for Ursa for this final round of play.
Indeed.
Khan
Desperate
takes a
for a round,
lot.
aren't they, I think?
Yeah. And that could help. Jo going to find one just slightly through the wall.
Swalio flashed out. It's a different kind of setup in the bathrooms. That flash is perfect. How? They both walked past him.
Oh, no.
My God. How have they both walked past him? One even, it felt like he had a look. He's fully blended into the wall. That is unbelievable. I mean, a stroke of fortune for Ursa in order to get their second round. It feels unfortunate. You know, that's the kind of moment you want when it's like 10-10. Not when you're about to have a 10-2 half. I think it will be forgotten about pretty swiftly, but it will be their round, and a knife is out here, potentially. Yep. So there you go. There's some consolation for Ursa. He'll remember that, but I don't think many other people will. 10-2 still at the turn of the half. Should be Nemiga's all day long here. We're going to take a little break, and then we will probably conclude this one quickly in just a few moments.
Welcome back. I mean, what more is there really to say off the back of that map, right? Just an absolutely dominant display coming through from Nemiga. They are just head and shoulders better than Ursa in every single way so far in that first half. 10-2. You very rarely see double digits on the T side. So I don't know what to expect heading in towards this second half, but it goes without saying that Ursa, to get back into this, is going to be an absolutely mammoth task from them. But second half underway here. Ursa, to make matters worse, after a poor display, they're now on the T side themselves, which is statistically the harder side on this map.
Yeah, no, it's true. They're not wasting any time, though. They're just bursting in, going to try and brute force their way through if they can. At the moment, looking good. Sypho able to deal with one player, but ultimately it has not started well. He does find a second there. There's a lurking presence, maybe? I'm not quite sure. It seemed to be watching behind. Either way, they easily are able to just deal and set themselves up on that B-bomb site. Third round comes through. Ursa to survive here. It's just a question of how long.
Yeah, it's true. Nice to see to get something on the board to start this T side, but my god, yeah. The recovery and all the rest that's like required for them is gonna take a long run of things. But at the very least, this third will turn into a fourth pretty swiftly. They're gonna once again rushing towards B, it seems. Kind of feels like mentally maybe Ursa checked out a little bit, but they'll just keep brute forcing their way through rounds until they eventually fail. And there's the Mach 10 of Carnes to open up proceedings. B-site again. Take him. That's the round done.
Yeah, I mean, looking good. Maybe trying to see it as like a learning experience at the moment. Work on those B hits. And a long way off of beginning the conversation, but these are obviously steps in the right direction to that comeback. All depends on how the next round goes for them. If they can continue this kind of form.
True.
Or if it just gets shut down immediately. Even if it comes very close, right? I think that would be Nemiga comfortable on their CT side. Chiron with the CZ, hoping to just overextend into him. They will, but he goes down, so Ursa to get it done flawlessly. Good signs, good omens. We need an awful lot more before we start truly believing.
There's a lot more required before we're fully comfortable with kind of what's on deck. I mean, I feel like maybe if you can get to like a 10-7, 10-8, with, you know, a couple of gun rounds thrown in there, and they're comfortable gun rounds too, then sure, maybe I can make a bit of an argument for it, but anything before that, I can't really fathom the way. First true gun round as well for Nemiga. On this CT side, and if they immediately just throw it back in the face here of Ursa, then I'm not going to be too worried about this. But if they're able to convert a bonus round, Ursa, it can maybe start to pique my interest a little bit. Swalio turns from the HE as if it was a flash. It does damage all the same.
Can't. Looking for another fight. Jo is set to run him down here, but it is a two-man setup. A pretty scary one at that. And some work to find Alf, but they will. And that's got to shut the round out before it even gets going. Salazar the only one left now, as they just are a non-starter here in this round. He'll get one. Might even get another, you never know, but the round itself just not going to happen. Coming a bit close, but he will be dealt with. 11-4, and that is just right where they left off. Nemiga should be able to close this one out.
Yeah. I wanted to be a bit of a believer and have a bit of faith, but the fact that the first true gun round is right back to winning ways from Nemiga. Comfortably kind of set it in stone for me, really. 11-4. Yes, there's money for a buy here, but really do or die here for this Ursa side. The now or nevers and all the rest that we like to throw out. 2 Galils in play, and fairly finite utility, and already a man dead. Flash in, needs to be careful. Karnes is snuck through the smoke, but only briefly, and as Jo tries to make a move to support them in mid, he'll lose his life to Sypho. Nemiga, 4 versus 2 now for them. And they've fallen back to the A site just to kind of rub salt on the wound. They're not giving over any fights.
Ooh. Gonna move away from A. However, in the nick of time, the footsteps are heard. Rakan is back. Not able to hold. I mean, Salazar seemingly having an alright T side here. As he finds another. Looks crisp. Oh, man. The one tap
Okay.
is crazy. He was actually so close. That's pretty nuts. It just doesn't mean anything in the end, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's basically a moment that'll be forgotten kind of immediately, but take a look again. Yeah, that one tap and nearly transfers the crosshair over. What could have been? There had been one as well, then who knows? Who knows what could have happened? You know, that one spurred on a bit of momentum. That's been hopeful. This is Nemiga going to close this out. They're running through the flames here. This has been heard. There could be a couple of bodies for Kyron, and there is. Alv and Jo just diving in towards their demise.
Salazar can't land anything. So just going to be down to the remaining 2. Chiron does get taken down. This is something that he was doing quite a lot yesterday. Here it's not going to be punished as much, but yeah, he was a huge overstepper. Just hoping that, I don't know, he might hear me somehow and clean up his discipline a little bit. But then in a game like this, he's 22 and 10, so why would he? Either way, AK for Karnes. Gonna have to be blessed by the gods for this one, I tell you what. It really does need a lot of divine intervention if they are to find this round, let alone this map at this point. And as we've seen before, Nemiga giving them plenty of room to work with, but also not giving them those important fights. Ooh, hold on. Karnes gets one. The AWP nearly gets dropped. It should be sorted. That's the bomb that falls there, unfortunately, with that AWP shot. So, 30 seconds. No chance. Khan sees it off. And Nemiga making very, very quick work of Ursa.
Yeah, they honestly looked so good all the way throughout Nemiga. And what a statement as well to start off your map pick in a series, which of course we know means so much. Loss here means elimination. And Nemiga really lay down the gauntlet to open up this series. And it's a worrying sign. We needed something quite special here from Ursa, especially just to make us believe a little bit. They've got their map pick of Dust 2 up next, but after that kind of slightly shocking showing, I don't know how to feel. We're going to throw it to a break now. We've got Dust 2 coming up next. Sit tight. See you soon. Welcome back in. It is time for map number 2, and well, if you're only just joining us, you might be kind of assuming we're quite quickly in towards this break. Well, it was a very quick map number 1. It was a dominant display, 13-4 from Nemiga to open things up. They barely broke a sweat, and Scriv, we're now heading in towards this Dust 2. We spoke about it a little bit in the pre-show. Nemiga don't mind this map, man. They're going to be loving life heading in towards this, I reckon.
Yeah, and obviously feeling good within the context of the series itself is the big thing.
Yeah.
The fact that they've just played so very well, and a lot of the argument and proficiency that we had for the Ursa side was that the individuals look good, they can shoot back, and they didn't really shoot back, you know? So Nemiga comes in as a team that are towards the top end of the conversation with like the tier 2 and tier 1.5 and all these kind of breakdowns that we like doing. TDK is a legit win for Ursa recently, but beyond that, every time they've like hit a bit of a ceiling of like, okay, we had K27, we had one win, maybe even Astral, you could argue they have Ill Will, for example. You know, there's loads like in here of teams, so it's like you don't expect them to win these games, and they don't. So there's obviously like quite a clear ceiling on the team at the moment. Yes, they might be able to get some dominant victories against teams that are on their level or below it, and not necessarily letting things slip. Like if you look through all these games that they've been playing, there's not a lot of names in here outside of the month period, right? If you start going way further back, yeah, sure, there's a few in there, but there's a lot of like names that they're beating that's like, okay, yep, expected. Okay, you're clearly climbing, you're clearly playing better than the rest of your class, as it were. But Nemiga are a team that are right up at the top end, and they're a real test for you. And at the moment, they are struggling. Dust 2 could be different, might be a harder battle for Nemiga, but we still, I think, have them as the favourites.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely spot on. I think it's just one of those where you can maybe give credit to Ursa and the run that they've made throughout this cup, but they've just met their match ultimately, right? This is a an Amiga side who, them going to Pro League just isn't a shock. Do you know what I mean? This is a side that have played a fair decent amount of tier 1 events. They've kind of always been this upper echelon tier 2 side, no matter what players they've had, and especially also considering that they've lost a lot of their real firepower in this team. First Flammes, then Zwei as well. Like, this is a team that have constantly been able to rebuild, and their scouting processes are really excellent. And you see where we are now. You know, we're in this kind of position where you just got to feel that for Ursa, it's fantastic that they've made it this far, but they're still a team that are very much earlier in their life cycle. And, you know, kind of as we were kind of discussing, heading in towards this game and throughout map number 1, they are playing with their coach. And don't get me wrong, their coach was a decent pro back in the day, right? You know, I say back in the day, you know, a few years ago in tier 2, he was a pretty commendable player, JO, but he isn't part of that full 5 that they're actually wanting to have. He is a temporary player from, you know, the last month and a half, as they're looking to decide who actually is going to be the 5th. And I think because of that, you know, to get it this far, that's great, but you're finally going to hit the roadblock.
Yeah. There is still time to obviously turn that around, and I think even finding a map against Nemiga this evening would be an achievement, but it's a challenge. It's very much a challenge in this kind of a situation, and just how good they looked on that first map, the fact that they were able to shut things down, the fact that it's little things with the loss of the early rifle round. It was like, okay, here we go. Maybe Ursa are going to find something. There's a lot of dry swings, a lot of really nice, you know, CS2 type movement that we're seeing creep in with these newer players that just hold angles and play angles really, really differently compared to the older CSGO pro, as it were. And unfortunately, they just got shut down from that point, you know, as soon as in my head, before you even get to vocalize it, that I was kind of excited to see what Ursa are going to do. They just got shut down. So more of that. That is the big question here. We're going to have a few rounds to get this one figured out and see whether Ursa can answer back. They'll be starting off on the T side here. Maybe that's part of it as well, that they didn't get to show as much of their T side on Overpass. Perhaps that'll be the difference as we move into Dust 2.
Yeah, that's it. Zypho, back plat, difficult to clear properly. The molly will come over. He does get one before he falls, so already not a bad start for him. Khan, and the pressure here needs a couple of heads. Well, there's two. Beautiful work. He's done his job. 3 in total for Khan. There should be no chance. Karnez, though. Kill from him. Tap a reload as he looks for more, and it's bloody close. It's Lear who sees it off, but my god, made to work for it.
Yeah, work in the end for sure. But this does open the door once again, right? Things are going to be tough in the early rounds, I think, while Nemiga figure this one out. They'll be straight on with a pretty clean buy. No bomb plant as well, often the big deal. Within those pistols,
True.
Ursa going to take the eco again and go for the early rifle buy again. So, very similar start, just on opposite sides of things here.
Yeah, definitely think it's the smart way to go about it. The Eagle of Karnez. Already reeling just a little bit. Tapping away through the smoke, hoping to find a player until his top shot. At the same time, though, Swalia's making a move through long. They can get a bomb plant out of this round, that'll be huge.
Yeah, I think I would agree with you. Just a question of what they can get done here. And it is the classic. Try and full send via short. Get the bomb down. And just body block their way in. Big nade there. As big as they get. That was huge. Run boost. Oh, coming in. Run boost attempted. Kind of just a little jump off the top of his head more than a run boost. All the same. Still able to worm their way in, and oh, Khan denies it away. He's just finding them all through the smoke. Khan with the homing bullets. That's crazy. Denies the bomb plant away. I thought, you know, we would actually get that plan. Kind of an interesting thing. The autopilot smoke that a lot of CTs go for. To stop the crossing and stay alive. Usually in a rifle round, they're not too sad to concede the bomb plant, but in a round like that, you want to try and deny it. Khan does just that.
Yeah, that's it. First proper gun round to come through. And first real look to see what their map pick's going to be like. Ursa, we saw little to nothing in that opener. So we don't really know what level they're playing at today. It didn't give them a true look as to kind of the highs of this side. We only saw lows. The question being for me now, is there going to be anything on offer? Do they have any of the chops required to put pressure on Nemiga? Khan's in a lot of trouble here. Gets a nade around that corner. He knows he can't fall away. He knows he's dead to rights. Hence why he sticks around. But despite being low, gets a kill and a dink on towards Karnez. That's his job done.
Deep position here. Here with a lot of info and maybe a big flank on the cards. Salazar going to be heard. Jump spotting away. And kind of begins to confirm the fact that it is more of an A hit with the fact that he's moving back over there. Lear drops him and they're ready for the long hit. So feels pretty good. 35 seconds, couple players down. They're smoked off. Surely not going to be doable, bar some crazy headshots. Alv dropped. It's all on Jo here. Can he take any damage is even the question. He drops an MP9, but dealt with very quickly. Nemiga seriously back to their winning ways.
Yeah, it's such a clean round. Again, I'll come back to it. Khan getting 1.5 essentially from that spot to start is incredible. But not only does he get that kill, it buys time. Rotations come through, and in doing so, a beautiful shutdown. Long has absolutely nothing behind it. And for Ursa, it's really damn see. They're going to very quickly go in to attack pause. It does sort of make sense, though. They saw how quickly things fell apart in the first half of map number 1 of that overpass, and they just don't want to repeat the same thing where the recovery required is way too tall a task. Unfortunately, well, I thought this was initially a pause of a tactical nature. Let's see tech. Okay, no, it is tech. didn't see the tech banner come up for a second. Kind of good news, though, with Attack Pause that your coach is also in the server with you, so we can give little tactical briefings throughout, but I don't think it's going to make too big of a difference. There's a point that I sort of brought up in map number 1. It's just, I just don't think they have the firepower required. Even if they do have a good game plan on Dust 2, I just don't think they have what's needed to win out the head-to-head duels.
And that's kind of the way that they're potentially used to playing the game as well, right? So if that doesn't work for you, you got to lean on those weaker parts of your game, which is simply not ideal. Slow roll up short. So again, try and force their way in. They've got plenty of utility here, I'd say, for a low buy round like this. They've got the Galil as well. Overselling their short presence. Clever idea if anyone's nearby. Unfortunately, no one close enough to hear all that. Some interesting lineups coming in over here. The mid sandwich, as it were. Pretty popular at the moment. Run through your own smoke. Cypher's got the angles. Not quite the double kill. He does have some support at the back end of the site as well. A little change in between angles, but they're able to keep it together. Looking so good. So good, in fact. And this may well continue for a while here now.
Yeah, and unfortunately, this could be what we're sort of set in for with this series. It could end up being a very, very one-sided kind of display where there isn't that much of a competition, which would be a real shame. I mentioned it a little bit that I'd been kind of catching this Ursa side a couple of times recently, and I saw some really nice moments from them. I saw some, honestly, really solid CS. Oh, Alf. That's something, though. You take those on yourself and open things up. First time in a while we've seen an opening kill come through. First time in this map for sure. And there's nearly putting damage onto another. Same for Jo. He's spamming away. It is ugly, a little bit messy, but it is still a numbers advantage for Ursa.
For the time being.
Yeah, they're taking a lot of damage.
And they have to capitalize. It's a really truly important round here if you can't make these situations work. Watching each other moving around here. They are going to look towards B. Which, yes, is lesser defended, but in a way, could be better defended. Can't. Oh, spots the back of the player. It doesn't shoot. There's a collat on the cards here. Oh, he's digging in. Oh, my goodness. Nearly gets bested. It's the mid control, though, that had dropped with just hardly any eyes on it that costs him. And with that, there's no way this CT side are going to get back in.
Finally something positive to talk about for Ursa. We saw kind of a brief little look in for that T side and Overpass, where there was like a couple of rounds here and there, and we were maybe slightly tongue-in-cheek building up the narrative of can the comeback happen, but round on the board much earlier than we saw in towards that Overpass. If we can get this T side going a little bit, make a decent half out of this, give yourself something to fall back on in towards the second, then absolutely you can keep the dream alive of taking this to a nuke. Yes, the start was a little poor. They much earlier got on the board. This could still be a pretty decent hunt here. If Kyron pops his head up, there's a couple probably dead to rights. 1, 2, yeah, he's going to find him through the box. No one survives for Ursa. So sure, you win the round, but that's kind of worst case scenario for winning the round.
True. It is true. And I mean, Nemiga always going to let you know that they're still around. They're still knocking on that door. First round comes through for the T side. Going to need a few more, of course, again, to get us excited here. First kill comes in for the CT end, slowing them down. The smoke's not brilliant, but it may well do enough of a job here to just reset the engagements. Alv with the double trade, in fact. But it's cost him so much. 27 HP between these two players is just feeling like not enough. Headshot for good measure. And Alv flanked out. So a big fast round from Ursa. leaves a lot of gaps, leaves a lot of space, and Nemiga are going to thrive in that kind of chaos.
Yeah, absolutely. Just killer as well, right? Because, you know, yes, you get around on the board, and of course, it gets thrown back in your face. But in a normal situation, this wouldn't be that damning of a thing. But it's just the fact that everyone died in the round prior, the one you won, everyone dies. So it means that you have no residual cash. And again, causes this big issue. Second time out taken by Ursa. I think this is the right move by them, you know, because to burn all of these timeouts. I think, you know, you've got to have something on this T side of Dustu. You can't rely on your CT side, but it's safe to say, despite being, you know, their map pick, and we maybe felt there might be a bit more of a chance than the Overpass, which we knew felt inherently like a bit of a punish pick, I'm still not convinced that there's anything on the cards here, really. It's a side that are really struggling to show what's up. So, second time I'll take in, we've got a half fight for the most part by JO. It should be a pretty easy sixth. For Nemiga. Feels quite deserved. Nate will come around to try and slow down Salazar as he was making a move in towards upper. I want to break the smoke in towards mid as well, but with this sort of firepower, yes, you can get a bit cheeky and popping in, might get a bomb plant, but it feels unlikely. Caught on the pressure there, and a missed shot from him. Same for his short hold too, which drops down. Con was a bit of deer in headlights. One to the right-hand side of him, one to the left. He didn't know which to choose, so he hits neither.
That looks a bit comical. Big catch-off coming, though. That double doors smoke not in play, and it does make such a difference. You know, they're like moths to the flame, these CTs. When there's no doors smoke, they will be looking. They will be egging for a fight, and that's exactly what you get. Now you got the AWP here as well, also taking wider angles, looking for the next shot. Not happening just yet. Good info. 40 seconds. Well bolstered A bomb site. And a well-timed nade. As this utility comes in, could do an awful lot. Indeed it does. My goodness, we've had some great nades on this map so far. And the spray downs just as good. Man alive, they are being flattened in a number of these rounds. Ursa really struggling for the big C, the consistency.
Yeah, exactly. We're just not seeing it. I mean, I guess that is a lesser buy round, but you at least want to make it a little expensive, right? At least, you know, a few kills to give you a bit of confidence, but none of it. 6-1, Nemiga. Yeah, they're flying. Let's have a little check of that game ongoing as well, alongside ours, which is K27 and 1 win, and they got a veto of Overpass, Ancient, and Mirage. Overpass picked by 1 win. K27 picked Ancient. Mirage is that decider. And map number 1, 13-11 to 1 win. They take map number 1. I'd actually be favouring K27 in that game, to be fair, but good work from 1 win. It looks like, was it Cronus, the new boy, had a really decent game.
Connors to open us up here. Another opportunity here, so don't get a lot of these. So the first kill was pretty big. Aggressive from Leah, but successful. And again, I don't know what the distaste for the mid-doors smoke is. Really don't seem to enjoy it over there. Jay are going to catch more aggression from the CT side, though. Is that necessarily needed from Chiron? Question we ask often of this guy from time to time on the CT side.
Yeah, we saw it happen a lot of times yesterday, like over-fighting, over-facing, and being really costly. Seconds. Gotta get the C4 down. It's a long play, which is honestly kind of the make or break in this round, really. Side players trying to scale up, but it's an AWP alone here. And yes, he can find the shot. Shouldn't get the chance at the plant. They should be denying it, and he's actually probably going to die off the time. Okay. Round lost, but I'll give credit where it's due. That's a nice little kind of double at the end there. But all for naught anyway. Who cares if you get the kills? It's a 7-1 scoreline. Beautiful. Bountiful Counter-Strike by Nemiga. And same thing here, Harvey, mate. Nemiga aren't breaking a sweat. They are coasting through the majority of that. I mean, that's kind of the closest round we've seen, really, in a while.
Yeah, no, it is true. And honestly, bar the round that Ursa have won, I just feel like most of the rounds have not been competitive. Nothing to get us out of our chairs just yet. So, something has to change quickly for the D2. Also, their pick, it's worth noting, and has yet to prove why. The opener's getting a bit better. Keep those coming, and Karnes will manage again to get the first kill. Couldn't make it work in the previous. And low HP bars here as well, so going to be a tough one to get over the line in this round, but got to start doing it at some point.
You've got to make rounds like this count with the numbers advantage. Just use Axis as a human flashbang a bit. Karnes. Oh my god. Honestly, could have punished there. The nade is good, but it's Sawalio's shot which really deals the serious blow. And in doing so, they're going to double back towards B. Smoke for the cross. It's Khan alone towards this B site. He's being held. Don't beat this Khan. You don't need to. Depending on his time, it could be everything. Molly down. Khan can now keep them at bay. He spots one behind the flames. This is another one that means timing might be the difference maker. And sure, you know, we're seeing a creep move here by the Tech 9. So Warriors not going to check it. But it's so ugly. It's so messy. They're desperately diving back towards shore. But this is not a show of confidence. That's the bomb down as well. And it'll be a save for JO. This is... oh, it's a really, really ugly round.
Yeah, and just starting to lack belief in themselves, you know. They don't fly in towards B, despite that kind of being the idea. So, really losing our confidence as well as their own, which is the worst possible thing. No ideas, no fallback plans. And a man advantage there, you know? It's Dust 2, bro. So many teams going to be able to convert from there. And just execute out short. And make that work. Something along those lines to at least get a bomb down and bring it really close and force a retake out. But they give isolated kills across and it obviously ends up costing them in a big way.
Pop shot. Close. Not to be. They're once again scaling up here. Break on the smoke. Zalazar looking behind it with this scout, but nothing on offer. And I have to agree, it does feel like they've lost belief in themselves. They don't think that they have the chops to compete here. They're moving up towards 8. There's 3 here to meet them. Already setting up for a run boost.
Send
the Glock over. Yeah. But works about as well as the others, which means you're running straight in towards that group of rifles that are here ready to fight the bomb spill down in towards CT, and that is Nemiga with a 9th. And again, 9 rounds in the first half, as at least for Nemiga, is not bad. Quick day at the office, it seems, here for us, mate. Yeah, I really thought we'd get a game with, you know, just a bit of life behind it, but... oh, man, it's not to beat. What a shame.
Yeah, hoping for kind of a nice showing from Ursa, and again, an opportunity for them to punch up. They just can't seemingly do it. Khan opens up again. He's having a field day, man. The whole team looks good, but he is taking matters into his own hands time and time again.
Keep testing him.
That is true, yeah. Gotta give him that respect. And again, just get the mid doors smoked down before you peek in, right? If you're not confident taking those fights. I guess Alv, frustrated, wants to battle back. I'm a fan of this. Lear's here. Flash comes in for him. It's pretty much perfect. He gets the double.
Wow.
They knew what was cooking. They execute brilliantly, and it looked nice on paper. You saw that play around the corner, and it's a make or break, isn't it, really? Lear either does nothing or does everything, and he will do the latter. Sypho to close it out. The B-hold comes alive in towards middle for the double digits.
Nice work. Lovely work. No complaints. But yeah, you know, you continue to test. That flashbang from Sypho is absolutely superb from him, so deservedly getting a couple at the end. He's had a fantastic round, and kind of bless him as well. Sypho, you know, he's 9-1, but he is playing that B site, which they aren't really going to, so he's constantly having to kind of rotate. They've not gone for just a kind of a raw B hit in a while. Very standard defaulty rounds of taking mid presence and going from there. Very easy for Nemiga to shut down. Lear with that secondary orb just outside of lower. I'll open up proceedings as Axis goes down.
Lear trained in, and they're looking to test the AWPs again. Oh, thing through the wall, and his backup is not solid enough. Chiron goes down. 4 versus 4, therefore, and a low HP Lear makes a big old difference. Swalio looking for the aggression. Jo ready for him, and will take him down. That was all a question of timings and crosshair placement. Meanwhile, 3 players moving in from short to try and retake it. You probably would save, but it's that last round, of course, so they're going to give it their best try here. Decent amount of utility to get it going. Of course, got the kits, but it's the double AWPs that just stick out like a sore thumb. Really not what you want on the retakes. Often we say one AWP makes life a bit awkward, depending on who you are, depending on what your ceiling looks like. But here,
wow,
it's going to make a big old difference. Sypho, quick with it for the first. 3 more to get through. Not loads of time in which to do it as well as a flank brewing. So even less time than they might expect, but Sypho keeps the heads rolling. He will fall to Salazar's goose spot. They can't find it. And Nemiga will lose out on a second. It's not the end of the world. They've had a great half once again in this series. Looking, as you said, for a quick day at the office. We'll see you in a few.
very similarly to map number 1, it is another dominant display from Nemiga to open up this map here. And in Dust 2, at 10-2 at the half, pretty safe to assume that this one is going to be done sooner rather than later. Ursa have just not been able to step up to the table here. And unfortunately, might be have to bid them farewell. This is that lower bracket after all, and they've got to pull off a triumphant recovery in the second half. Scriv, I don't see it happening.
Yeah, I think you might not be the only one, to be honest. And Ursa might quickly join you if this pistol does not go well for them. Nemiga with the game plan. They've got some decent utility here. A couple decoys in the conversation. And the P250 for Chiron. He has a monster on it. Sypho here who's going to find the first head. And now a P250 to be recovered as Chiron goes down. Are we following up? Utility is yet to be expended. So I thought they'd, looking at B, get the smoke down, everybody get in there. But no, they've got other ideas. Really looking to take some heads-up fights here and just see if they can soften up a certain area of the map. 4X got to be careful, but keeps the confidence. Takes that breath before the swing. I don't know if anyone saw that article a few weeks ago that it can be really good for peak angles to hold your breath and just prepare yourself. And the rest of the USPs doing the same here. They will get the better of it in the end.
Well, at least they stay alive a little bit for now. This is kind of the same thing that happened in towards Overpass 2. And 2, you get a first couple of rounds, but the second the guns came back into play, that's when Nemiga closed it out, and who knows, maybe this is more of the same, but we are going to get a force buy this time. They didn't do it in the previous map at this same kind of junction. We'll hear one Galil, Scout, double Deagle on a P250, and a fair decent amount of utility as well, to be fair. It looks like they might go for a bit of a bog standard B pop, to be honest. Chiron's setting up. Flash over, and in they come. They're going to start to fight, but they survived the first. That's a fantastic nade. And Salazar's got to smoke down. They might just commit through this. They're going to barrel in. Oh no! Salazar caught full blind. And this force buy might be able to pull something off. J.O. has other ideas. Axis and Alval all getting towards the mix. And just when it felt like they lost the sight, they gain it back just as well.
Yeah, so well done. I mean, there was, as there always is with the B retake, that brief window to get in there before the bomb goes down and just force your way through. If there was maybe an AK in the conversation. That being said, there was that Galil. He was just blinded at the right time. So they saved themselves from embarrassment. But Nemiga, never down and out. Always looking good in this series, it would seem. They are set to continue the aggressive campaign. However, this round, there's some upgraded pistols. I'd like to say you don't fancy their chances, but I don't want to speak too soon.
Swally on this Deagle. Gonna go have a little look-see. Molly initially will slow it down. Slow around. You know this is how Nemiga like to play their T-sides. Generally, relatively drawn out. I sort of crossfire here. They do try and go for a mid to B split, but already at a one-man deficit. I'm not seeing too much going to happen in this round, to be honest. If they had a few Tech 9s and a couple of flashes, maybe they could do, you know, a similar sort of vein to what they did in the previous round. But with the Eagles here, they need to formulate the round a little bit more strongly, and I just can't see anything happening. There's enough util to just continually slow them down for this final 30 seconds.
Alv with another one. Looking good here. Nothing too out of the ordinary. There you go. Chiron catches one as Jo runs out of ammo and can't get that spray down going. You just get another. They'll always be happy to do damage on the comeback train. Get some more kill bonus for themselves, I suppose. But not going to matter too much in the grand scheme, as we say. But yeah, time Gonna tell on this one, Ursa picking up some steam, but it's all about the gun rounds. All about how they respond here, and of course what we saw on Overpass was also just trying to give them that light bit of belief as they managed to pick up the pistol and stay confident, but as soon as the rifles came out, it changed and the game was over. Is that going to be the case here? Once again, Lear extremely blind. Does his best, but fails to find the kill. He is bailed out by his teammate, however, and against what Ursa wanted, it is still an opener for them. I love this, though. The re-aggress towards long. Going to be totally unexpected. They're collided. They're caught goofing about, trying to do the run boost. And a great move. Really, really unorthodox from Ursa. We'll give them the round back.
Yeah, that's beautiful stuff. We're kind of like messing around a little bit there, and a lovely punish, Karen. 1 versus 2. He's sharp, but surely this is impossible. Surely. Makes his way up 50 seconds. With 20 points of HP and a bomb to be recovered. It, again, feels like this should be impossible. There's one, though. He's got time for the second fight. AK at range! Oh. Wax is why we're peeking. They're going to come over as well. It's going to kill him. I cannot believe it. What are we doing, Ursa? What are we doing? Axis has the bomb and the information, and they give Kyron the fight. Why? Why? They have in no way should they ever lose that round, especially in the way in which they caught Nemiga. With their pants down out towards long, they should never lose that. But credit to Kyron. I said it's possible, but it was slightly tongue-in-cheek, but that is a ridiculous move by him. Well done.
Yeah, I mean, he has to go mental. He has to have some parameters go his way as well. He gets both those things. He capitalizes. That's all you really can say for him. Insane. Insane moves. Ursa back with a vengeance. Aggression across the board. It fails at long. It's successful at short. So Alio will also go down to the 5-7, for goodness sake. On orb at the back of the site here as well to keep your eyes on. And he is looking to take them all. Goodness. Big 2-piece from him. Karnez on the deagle to clean out. Solid stuff from Ursa. And a great answer back. Just, I don't know, man. You're one step closer to the loss. You don't have a lot of room to work with.
My, oh my. Maybe there is a little bit of legs behind this. You know, even despite kind of the round prior to this one kind of being won, obviously it was really ugly, and now, of course, a big response here, which has massively damaged the econ. Maybe there is something to be had, potentially. Nade, this could be a really healthy one. And it is. That's a beaut. More or less a max damage onto both of them.
Iron. Let him off the leash with this AK. He was hoping for a slightly wider face. He's going to draw them in. Is there support there for the trade? Unfortunately not. I thought that was maybe part of the plan, that they were like set up to trade him here. Glock finds success. AK retrieved. And it is an AWP round the corner. However, they're going to pull away. Nemiga still making me worried, and I'm sure making Ursa worried as well, that this is not quite over. They're going to run into Axis with the Galil. An off angle from him. Can he get a bit more from here? The answer is no. There's space now for the bomb plant, and the round is most certainly on.
Oh, tapping away. As Jo goes down, and so does Salazar Khan. The 2 huge kills is all on that 5-7, and he just doesn't expect Cypher making a move of his own. 12 map and series now locked in for Nemiga. And what a sort of round to recover. Khan does God's work in this round, and with that scooped up AK really hurts them. That's a round you should never be losing, but it more or less sums up Ursa's woes throughout this series.
Yeah, it really does. It really does. Just the epitome round. Comes at what could be the tail end of this series and this tournament for Ursa as well, you've got to bear in mind. But that is the nature of the beast from time to time. Ursa unable to really match us throughout this series. Karnes does hear all this action going down. They've got 3 on short round the corner. Molotov goes in. It's deeper than these players. Oh my goodness. Chiron, flash in hand. He's just not ready, and they completely demolish his timing. So first kill comes through for Ursa.
Oh. Karnes. Can't. With that AWP, someone's got the right idea. The flash is easily avoided. Khan for 2 again. He just continues to be a battering ram. And the last man of Karnes got to get both, which he does. That long-range shot onto Khan was absolutely superb. And the second up close is brilliant. Karnes continues for him individually to have a really good game. Him and Owl, but God, we need a few more rounds like that to start believing, but that is a lovely one. That shot on towards Khan is really special.
Yeah, fantastic finds. I mean, Ursa's showing a bit more on Dust 2 of those individual ceilings. Just that T side for me did not start well. Khan pushing it back. He's had the Alv number, feels like, all game long. Fuel grader pistols, there's armor dotted out for Chiron. So again, I'm not counting Nemiga out with that first kill. And also, Ursa surely going to be unsure of what's on the other side of this. They've seen the AWP, but they're not going to know about the lack of armor that, you know, a lot of these players have got. Khan trades. What does Jo do here? Does he want to get in the conversation? It's man advantage for the T side. Really thinning the defensive numbers. And you can see each CT player is isolated. They're going to get together a bit more on middle. This is really dangerous.
Oh. Swalio gets one. Absolutely taking M4. Cypher can't react in time. The AWP might be able to deliver, but can't. Flash over. Deagle with a shot that connects on towards Lear. A flash of their own. Axis has got to be dead. How is he still alive? Not for much longer. Seen off by Sawali on that P250 who gets both to close it. 13-7. And yes, a little bit more of a competition towards map number 2, but it is still Nemiga with a masterclass of a 2-0. And Khan in particular looked absolutely excellent.
Yeah, for sure, as he can on some maps, and maybe seeing it a bit more over the matchups that we've caught from him recently. But that map just kind of going to show as well that Ursa lacking some of the protocols, lacking some of the you could say discipline to like deal with the difficult rounds. We saw them lose a couple, if not a bit more than that, but definitely a couple in recent memory of like unlikely rounds and lower buy rounds, and shouldn't be happening like this. And it comes off the back of giving away early kills and just allowing that to happen. So they will unfortunately be knocked out, kind of deservedly though. Definitely not playing to their highest level, it feels here. They were looking pretty damn good with some runs and some decent games in the upper bracket side of things, but now of course knocked down, and they will be locked in at 4th, which is not bad, I would say, for where they're at as a team and the youth of it, and that rotating 5th spot with Jo, you know, not necessarily being their final decision. But unfortunately, their journey will end here in the second cup of Season 51.
Yeah, you know, again, kind of credit to them. I really think that they've made a kind of a decent run of things. But in the end of the day, I think them getting 4th in a cup like this is naturally, like, maybe even slightly an overperformance, considering some of the teams that I sort of seen below them. But credit where it's due, and now means that we are starting to get into our final 3. We now have Nemiga booked in through this lower bracket final, and they'll be taking on the loser of 1-win K27. That game is still going on currently. Like I mentioned, 13-11, map number 1 on Overpass. It's currently 8-5 up 1-win on map number 2. So they're also on track for the 2-0 in that one. So potentially we could be getting a K27 Nemiga in the lower bracket final to see who will be joining OneWin in the grand final. But for myself and Scriv, that is us done for the day here in EU. Actually, a very quick day at the office, to be honest, but there's plenty more Counter-Strike throughout your evening. We've got South America and North America to be brought to you throughout, so make sure to check the socials, HLTV, all of the rest. But for myself and Scriv, thank you for joining us. It's been a pleasure. We'll see you soon.
Different kind of setup in the bathrooms. That flash is perfect. How? They both walked past him.
Oh no.
My god. Swiftly, but it will be their round, and a knife is out here potentially. Yep. So there you go. In the nick of time, the footsteps are heard. Khan is back. Able to hold. I mean, Salazar seemingly having an alright T-side here. Finds another. Looks crisp. Oh man, the one
okay.
is crazy. Still able to worm their way in, and Khan denies it away.
Dead to right. One. See, kind of the make or break in this round, really. Side players starting to scale up, but it's an awful lone here. And yes, he can find the shot. Shouldn't get the chance at the plant. They should be denying it, and he's actually probably going to die off the fallen.
I love this, though. They regress towards long. Going to be totally unexpected. They're collided. They're caught goofing about.
There's one, though. Second fight. They get range. Wax is why we peeking. They're going to come over as well. It's going to kill him. I cannot believe it. What are we doing, Ursa? Got that. Connects on towards Lear. A flash of their own. Axis has got to be dead. How is he still alive?